Good morning, everyone. Let us discuss chapter number 3, Population Composition from the Fundamentals of Human Geography, class 12. In this chapter, there are a few topics like population composition, sex composition, age structure, rural urban composition, literacy, and occupational structure. Let us start one by one each one of its topic. First of all, let me tell you what is population composition. Do you know what is population composition? Population composition represents the diversity of people of a country in relation to age, sex, place of residence, occupation, education, etc. Okay, and this is known as demographic structure also, or in other words you can say this is also known as demographic structure. Okay, so what is that population composition? Population composition, it represents the diversity of people of any country in relation to people's age, sex, residence, occupation, and education. Okay, people of any country are diverse in many respects, right? And sorry, each person is unique in his or her own way. People can be distinguished by their age, sex, and place of residence. So, some of the other distinguishing attributes of population are, just now I told you, occupation, education, and life expectancy. Right. So, I think you must have understood what is that population composition, and I have also told you that population composition, in other words, this is also known as what? Demographic structure. Right. So the study of population is incomplete without the study of its characteristics, isn't it? The characteristics like sex ratio, age composition, literacy, occupational structure, rural urban composition, rural urban population ratios, isn't it? This is also one of the attribute. Which one? Rural urban population ratios. So these together, or these characteristics together, constitute the demographic structure. So population characteristics like languages, religion, caste composition, family size, etc., are also the part of demographic structure. The demographic structure not only influences the growth rate of population but also its manpower potential. An understanding of these is necessary for successful development planning. Okay, so I hope you must have understood what is that population composition, isn't it? Now, let me tell you something about uh, sex composition. That what is sex composition? The number of women and men in a country is an important demographic characteristic. You must be knowing this. So, what is that then? The ratio between the number of women and men in a population is called sex ratio. Sex composition is expressed with the help of ratio, right? And which is known as what? Sex ratio. Sex ratio in India is defined as number of females per thousand males in the population. But why I have just now told you that in India, because in other countries it is defined as number of males per 1000 females in the population. Okay, so again, I'm telling you that the number of women and men in a country is also an important demographic characteristic. So, the ratio between the number of women and men in the population is called what? Sex ratio. I hope you must have understood. But this is very important from examination point of view, that this type of question is usually asked. Define sex composition, or how it is calculated in India and other countries. Okay, so sex ratios are among the basic of demographic parameters and provide an indication of both the relative survival of females and males and the future breeding potential of a population. So the observed sex ratio is consequence of natural selection on the sexes and any anthropogenic effects of harvest. Got it? So in other countries or in some countries, it is calculated by using the formula male population by female population, right? Per 1000 male to female, that is your number of males per 1000 of females, and the ratio between male to female is required to find the gender ratio in a population. So it is very much required to know what is the ratio between these men and women. Okay, so the sex ratio is an important information about the status of women in a country also. Right. So sex ratio is an important factor for determining the death rate of any population, or women generally have lower death rates than men at most ages in most countries. Right. And one very specific feature is that in regions where gender discrimination is rampant, the sex ratio is bound to be unfavorable to women. Such areas are those where the practice of female feticide, female infanticide, and domestic violence against women are prevalent. One of the reasons could be lower socio-economic status of women in these areas also. Okay, so in other words, that in the regions where this gender discrimination is rampant, the sex ratio is bound to be unfavorable. So in very common words or in general you can say that sex ratio is unfavorable. Why sex ratio is unfavorable to women? And the reason, just now I told you, that female feticide, and female infanticide, domestic violence against women are prevalent, and one of the reason could be lower socioeconomic status. Okay, and this is also very important from examination point of view. Now let me tell you at least 4 or 5 reasons. What are the reasons for unfavorable sex ratio for females? Here I have written, you can copy it also. Preferential treatment is given to a male child, and female child get neglected in most of the Indian homes. The infant mortality rate in India is high, and female infant mortality rate is still high. Due to what? Due to lack of education, right? Due to lack of education and lack of education and socio-economic condition also, right? And one important reason is also that they are unaware of the importance of both of them, men and women, in the society. People go through prenatal sex determination test, and in case of child or in case of girl child, they abort the child, right? And lower socio-economic status of women, and finally you can see what, domestic violence. These are some of the reasons behind what sex ratio, why sex ratio is unfavorable to women. Now let me tell you once again, people of any country are diverse in many respects. Got it? Each person is unique in his or her own way. People can be distinguished by their age, sex, and their place of residence. And some of the other distinguishing attributes of the population are occupation, education, life expectancy. So, all these we study, we discuss in which unit? We discuss it in population composition, isn't it? Population composition. And the another one is your sex composition, and I have just now discussed with you what is sex ratio. why it is important in a population, and why female or why mm, sex ratio is unfavorable for females, right? So these are the important units which you should be very careful while preparing your answers. Now, the sex ratio at birth is not unique or not equal. In every country, births are male biased. There are biological reasons why they are slightly more boys born every year than girls. The natural sex ratio at birth is around 105 boys per 100 girls. Right, this is one of the survey in different countries, right? And in some countries, the sex ratio at birth is much more skewed than would occur naturally. Today and in recent past, this is particularly common across Asia. You can see, particularly, this is very much common in Asia and North Africa. Here, there is a clear evidence of gender selection in these two continents. You can see that clear evidence of gender selection through prenatal what sex determination and selective abortion. In countries where there is a clear son preference, the sex ratio at birth becomes increasingly skewed with the birth controls, isn't it? One third of fourth born, one third or fourth born of children are more likely to be boys than the first or second child, right? And in the countries where there is a strong son preference, mortality rate for girls are higher. This is very much common than would be expected, and this can occur either through direct infanticide, but also through neglect and unequal treatment. That the girl child dies, isn't it? Due to negligency in the society or in the family. So the sex ratio tends to decrease over the life course from beginning to male biased to female biased. This is because this is because women tend to live longer than men. And it's estimated that today there are over 130 million missing women in the world as a result of selective abortion and excess female deaths. Okay, all these are the surveys taken in different countries or in different continents. So, development can also be opposing impact on sex ratio. There is evidence that the son preference declines with education, but this often goes hand in hand with the declining fertility rates and increased access to what access to selective technologies, which can increase the sex ratio. Okay, now another important topic which can be related here is the highest and lowest sex ratio in the world. In which country in the world is the highest sex ratio? That's your Latvia. Okay, and then the percentage of female population is 54%. Women per men 118.52. According to NCRT book, it's given 85 males per 100 females. Right. In general, Asia has the lowest sex ratio. The countries like China, India, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan have a lower sex ratio. Whereas on the other extreme is the greater part of Europe where males are in minority and the females are more in number. And UAE has the lowest sex ratio in the world, that's 26.7%. So we have discussed today mainly what is sex composition. Okay, what is sex ratio, why sex ratio is unfavorable, or why sex ratio is unfavorable for women, and in different countries of the world, that which country has the highest sex ratio and which country in the world has the lowest sex ratio. Today we have discussed mainly two topics. One is what is population composition, and another one is what is sex composition. Okay, so that's all for today. Have a good day.